And when I saw what it said, I assumed it was from The Onion, because the only words I saw were National Corrupt Athletic Association. And then we heard this.
Virginia deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. This was a miscarriage of justice and robbery at the highest levels. Now, who was the last team to get into the tournament ahead of the Mountaineers? That would be the University of North Carolina. Now, let's see how their resume stacks up. The Tar Heels went 1-12 in quad 1 games and even had a quad 3 loss.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is your West Virginia Governor, Patrick Morrisey, who thought that it would make sense to spend part of his day, part of your resources as a taxpayer in West Virginia, to initiate an investigation by his acting attorney general because there's been a robbery at the highest level. We're not talking about a bank. We're not talking about tax incentives or tax breaks for the wealthy. We're not talking about lack of infrastructure or lack of fixing potholes. We're not talking about anything other than West Virginia being left out of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's true, because I remember when Ron DeSantis, when Florida State University was not named into the CFP, whenever it was after an undefeated season, he took to the podium to talk about what an outrage it was and how we were going to investigate and we were going to find out what happened and make sure there's no shenanigans or nefarious activities. And maybe it's me. Maybe it's what you want from your elected officials. Maybe you want your elected officials to feel like, wow, they've got my back. They are for every man. They want to fight injustice wherever injustice rears its ugly head. Or you could be like me and say, man, I'd like you to govern. Of course, you're the governor, which means that you've been given a mandate by the people to govern our state, to try to increase the value of our property, maybe enable us to have a few more shekels dans ma poche, maybe to right the wrongs that afflict so many people. But to right the wrongs of the players on West Virginia or the fans who are despondent beyond repair, I'd like the governor to have taken the podium and said, okay, a show of hands to all of my constituents. We can spend about $100K to investigate this robbery at the highest level and look into the National Corrupt Athletic Association, or we can cut taxes by $100 grand. Just by a show of hands, where do we stand? Well, I'd like to give my opinion about that, said one random West Virginian. I'm afraid I'm not going to see any of those tax breaks. I'm afraid it won't trickle down to people like me in my economic situation, so I'm all for getting the big guy. Let's go after Bubba. Let's go after those Tar Heels. Can you imagine that you people elected someone that is wasting our time? It's one of the great stories of all time, especially because Patrick Morrisey has a history of this. This guy loves wild goose chases. He used to be the attorney general, and he filed a lawsuit that ended up being successful that challenged a bunch of transfer rules. But what exactly was he doing? Was the purpose to tighten up the portal, expand the portal? Was he trying to initiate what would become the actual transfer portal rules? Patrick Morrisey actually took the stand and said, quote, "Is this retribution? We're going to have to get to the bottom of that," because he thinks that the NCAA left West Virginia out of the tournament as payback to Patrick Morrisey for the lawsuit that he filed as state attorney general. I'd like to take you inside the selection room. I'd like to take you inside Bubba Cunningham as they discuss whether West Virginia will be in the tournament. And it is told, hey, Bubba, we're going to talk about UNC. Get out of the room. They get out of the room. The vice chair picks up and says, let's not forget, West Virginia totally screwed us. That guy, Patrick Morrissey, the governor. I think that 50% of the members of the selection committee couldn't tell you the governor of West Virginia, and the other 50% couldn't give a tinker's damn. What an unbelievable show of narcissism that seems to run rampant in the party. By the way, hi, my name's David Samson. However, you're going to manifest that narcissism by saying this is payback and we're going to investigate it? Surely you jest.